Since the dawn of time, Aussie voters have followed a familiar trajectory.
With baby boomers, they enter the voters' roll relatively progressive. As they get older, they tend to start voting for the Liberal Party in greater numbers.
But now, millennials, born after 1980, and Gen Z, born after 1996, are bucking that trend. A new report finding they're the first generations to stick with progressive politics as they age. Millennials projected to be in their 80s by the time they vote Coalition.
Across the country, the Coalition secures around 1 in 5 millennials. It's even worse for the Coalition when we're dealing with Generation Z.
It's a trend we've seen at the ballot box.
Tonight we have made history.
And it's echoed overseas. Analysis showing the US and the UK are now home to by far the least conservative 35-year-olds in recorded history.
We're looking at a generation that is going to do worse financially than their parents did for the first time since World War II. It's a worldwide phenomenon, and it's because they don't have the same amount of wealth to protect.
That shift could spell bad news for the Coalition. With predictions, it could lose 30 seats by 2040.
If I was the Liberal Party, I would be very, very worried about the future right now.
Conservatives warn that if they don't change tack on things like climate change, inequality and housing, extinction could be on the horizon.
Alternatively, Conservatives could appeal to millennial voters by speaking their language. So, Pricey, repeat after me. Slay all day.
Slay all day.
Low-key obsessed.
Low-key obsessed.
It's giving cringe.
Cringe. Getting cringe.
You're not wrong.
The Liberal Party would really need to overhaul its entire platform. It would need to not only believe that climate change is real, but that we need real action on it. It would need to start looking at inequality. It would need to look at tax reform. Everything that's been pretty much the opposite of how the Liberal Party have acted over the last 50 years would need to change in order for younger voters to start looking at them as a viable concept again.
Millennials and Gen Z, a demographic detonator that looks set to go off all over Australian democracy. So I totally get this. Like, I'm a millennial, and I think by all metrics I should be a Conservative voter, right? Like, I grew up in the church, I went to high school in Scott Morrison's electorate, you know, my parents are both doctors, like, there's a lot of reasons, but, like, I don't think I would ever vote for the Liberal Party because, I mean, number one, conservatively, I feel uncomfortable about some of the racial politics involved in that. Not that all Conservatives are racist, but certainly, like, most of the racists I know are Conservative. And on top of that, it's like, I think if you want young people to be attracted to conservatism, you've got to give them something to conserve. And, you know, do we have houses? We have student debt? Do we have, you know, I don't think there's a lot for us to hang on to, you know?
I don't think your life's as bad as you paint it, but, I mean, you will get to a point where the policies will be what will convince you which way you vote. And I think the premise here that the age-old adage that the older you get, the more conservative you get is probably still true. I think that is definitely still true. And I think a lot of younger people, all you guys included, a lot of people who feel conservative are not willing to say it because they believe that they'll get attacked on social media and among their colleagues.
What do you define as conservatism now?
Liking things to stay the way they are, largely. I mean, our institutions, you know, I don't want the church ripped down or... I mean, a whole bunch of radical stuff that's going on, particularly in the United States, but it's coming here as well. I mean, a lot of the politics around sexuality makes people like myself feel uncomfortable. So I still think you get to a certain point in your life. I mean, the classic example of this, I'll give you one classic example. Rupert Murdoch, when he was at Oxford University, had a bust of Lenin in his room and was close to the Communist Party. Now, you'd find no more conservative person than Rupert now. And so people do get more conservative with age.
They definitely do, yeah. I was quite liberal and then I bought a $100,000 handbag the size of a grain of sand. And I really did find out. Yeah, I am different.